Hey everybody, this is Adam Rapp and I'm joined with Sandy Plunkett. And today we're going to be talking about the amazing Steve Ditko. So I was fortunate enough to come across a page of original art from House of Mystery, issue 258, to add to my collection. So we're going to be reviewing and Sandy's going to be talking a little bit about Steve Ditko and his talents. Before we do that, many of you I'm sure are aware of Steve Ditko and the work he's done, starting at Charlton and moving to Atlas, then obviously the incredible things he did at Marvel, working on Spider-Man and then Doctor Strange, and then moving to some of the mystery books and some of the DC books and horror books and really kind of all over the place, including a lot of his kind of independent work that he did that you might be familiar with. But we don't want to go into too much detail there. Let's go ahead and just start talking about Steve Ditko. So, Sandy, if you could, what's your general take on Steve Ditko's work?
Well, it's pretty easy to say I love it. I do know that it's a little hard for me to separate my feelings of him just as an artist from this nostalgia whenever I see his work, because I grew up on his Spider-Man and I just absolutely loved it. His artwork was really strong on Spider-Man. He started without apparently putting a lot of effort in the book. About a year later, the artwork was great and getting better. And if I had to isolate one thing in his work that I really enjoy, it's the fact that his personality comes through so strongly in all his work. I don't know what his influences were early on, but in those horror books before Spider-Man and into Spider-Man, you couldn't mistake Ditko's work for anybody else's.
I agree 100%. I mean, you see a Ditko page or panel and you know it's Ditko for sure, right? So I'm a huge Spider-Man guy myself, and he's absolutely my favorite Spider-Man artist. But
good to hear.
But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about this page. So,
Okay.
with House of Mystery 258, horror story, a great story where a demon from the underworld is going to, travel to Earth and wreak havoc and accidentally reverses the spell. Instead of going to Earth, he brings a young boy to his domain. Rather than chopping him up and eating him, he decides to have the boy go over and wreak havoc with his brothers and mess up their laboratories and their magic spells and everything. So, taking a look at this Ditko work, kind of what jumps out at you?
I think what comes to my mind first is I'm going to repeat myself a little bit, it's unmistakably Ditko. And that's why I enjoy it more than anything else. He's one of these artists who never seem to stumble as a storyteller, and it's just put together so well as a narrative. You can get a feeling of the relationship between the kid and the monster, but that's secondary. At this point, he had already simplified and refined his style. I don't think he was putting as much effort into the drawing, but he had almost streamlined his work and focused on the story that was coming through. What attracted you to this page?
So for me, obviously, I want to try to collect some different artists, some different work. For me, I like the DC horror books quite a bit. I really do. And I mean, it's one page that encapsulates really kind of the entire story. I mean, you can
Yeah.
get on this one page kind of the whole gist of what's going on. And I'll be honest, I'm a sucker for monsters. So, I mean, this demon really drew me in, and so something that jumped out at me.
Right.
Okay, so Sandy, you mentioned, you said this is definitely Ditko. You can absolutely discern his work as soon as you see it. When you say that from an artist perspective, what is it about Ditko's work that makes it so recognizable?
That's a very difficult question to answer.
Sure.
Style is something which is even hard to define, and it's even harder when you're trying to prize apart the elements of artwork and decide what is creating that sense of style. Frazetta, one of the extraordinary things about Frazetta is he has all this incredible ability as an artist, and yet what draws you in is this indefinable Frazetta-ness. And you could say, well, it's a certain way he draws women, or it's a certain way he creates a jungle atmosphere. But in the end, you eliminate any of those elements, and it's still Frazetta. And it's a bit the same way with Ditko. And I suppose if you analyze, you can say, well, he draws a face this certain way, and he uses this certain line for creating folds. But I think for all artists, whether they're fine artists or commercial artists, there's something that they're all moving towards, and that's an expression of their inner selves in a visual form. And there's no roadmap for how you get there. It's really just a matter of what you bring as a person to your artwork. And the stronger that is, the more your work will resonate with yourself.
Great.
And Ditko had a tremendously strong personality.
That would be a conversation for another recording,
Absolutely.
I think. But well, let's go ahead and we're going to wrap this up. Before we do, though, obviously, Ditko's an incredible artist. He's done some tremendous stuff. I know personally, Green Goblin Ditko for me is like no other Green Goblin. So, is there anything to kind of wrap this up? Is there any iconic piece for you, or image, or character, hero, villain that he's done that really resonates with you?
The answer is yes. And that is the Spider-Man series. As I said before, it took a little while for that book to take off, but there was so much of Ditko in that, so much force of personality that he transferred from himself into Peter Parker and Spider-Man. And as a kid, I just felt that so strongly. The one sad thing is, I've never been able to appreciate another artist on Spider-Man. It was Ditko.
That's great. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap up for today. A little bit different format from us. We hope you enjoy it, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care, everybody.
See you later.